No.
Okay. So Maguén is a shield. David is King David. Okay, and Adom is red. So it's the red shield of David. That's the interpretation of the name. Magen David Adom is an organization that was established in the young city of Tel Aviv at that time, the small city of Tel Aviv, in 1930. In the summer of 1930, we have marked 92 years last month of existence of the organization, meaning 18 years prior to receiving the independence for the state of Israel. And it was one of many, many organizations that were formed by the Jewish community, the growing Jewish community, from, let's say, 1920 onwards. Many organizations, educational, like schools and universities, hospitals, even union organizations like the teachers union, the construction labor unions, etc., and also an organization that was equivalent to the Red Cross. And it was called Magen David Adom. And at that time, you know, historically, who were in charge of this part of the world? You remember? Do you know?
England.
Yes, the Brits were part. They received the mandate after the First World War. The entire Middle East was divided between, at that time, the new superpowers, because it was all mainly under the Ottoman Empire that was kicked away by other countries. So Israel, Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and others were under the British mandate. French was ruling Syria, Lebanon, and some other places. Iraq was divided. The Russians were part of Iran, was under Russian domination. Italy were in Northern Africa, like Libya, and also in Eastern Africa, like Eritrea, and so on. So this entire area was divided between superpower. In addition, remember, there were a lot of national movements at that time, especially in Europe, including the Zionist movement and the work in order to create a new country like Israel, and the people who lived here began to build the foundations of the becoming state of Israel, working with the British and other communities until we were able to receive the independence and so on. But at that time, in the early 1930s, additional small group of volunteers were forming additional groups called Magen David Adom in the north of Israel, in many, many locations, like including in Jerusalem. And until, let's say, the receiving the independence, Magen David Adom had already 18 different branches, was training the public in first aid, providing medical transportation to patients, the beginning of what is known as blood services and blood banking services that we all familiar with, were also started then, and the fact that the vast majority of the people were volunteers, coming from all parts of the society, doctors and nurses and people who were trained in the army and so on, and also other people from the community. So this is, let's say, part of the history of the organization. This building is a headquarters station of one of 11 different regions of Magen David Adom in Israel. It is a very big one because we cover from the Dead Sea and the Jordan Valley, Judea Desert on the way to Jerusalem from the east, and then to the west, about halfway between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. To the north, the let's say, southern parts of Samaria and to the south to Hebron. This entire area, it has about 1,006,000 Israelis and Arabs who live there who are not part of the Palestinian Authority. We are not providing services in the areas that are called Zone C, Zone A and B. These are being provided by the Palestinian Red Crescent. Also, they have presence in East Jerusalem. They have hospitals in East Jerusalem, maternity hospital and others. So there is already, from the 1980s, collaboration between Magen David Adom and the Palestinian Red Crescent. And I was training them, their teams, for many years in the 1990s and the beginning of the and so on. And we have daily cooperation between their teams and ours. Part of the agreement that we have is that our part is to make sure that there is freedom of movement of Red Crescent Palestinian teams, bringing patients to hospitals in Jerusalem, whether it is East Jerusalem or the Israeli hospitals, and also transferring of patients to other parts of Israel to Israeli hospitals. And this is part of an agreement that we have for many, many years. Magen David Adom is a very unique organization because it is not a governmental organization. In 1950, the Knesset, Parliament, legislated the Magen David Adom law and defining the goals of the organization and the structure, the public structure of the organization. And we are a public, non-governmental, voluntary organization. Or more clearly to say, based on volunteers. We are in charge of three major aspects in Israel. First is we are the National Ambulance Services System and the first aid national system of the State of Israel. Number two, we run the National Blood Services of the State of Israel. We are collecting, processing, storing, and supplying every day all the needs of the Israeli hospitals for blood and blood components, and we also store for emergency times blood and blood components. And we are the Israeli Red Cross organization. So we have humanitarian duties in Israel and also humanitarian duties that we provide out of Israel. For example, I'm sure you are all aware of what is going on in between Russia and Ukraine, and unfortunately, it's no longer in the headlines. Every now and then you hear a little bit. It's not as it was several months ago, but we were sending teams to assist refugees to several countries and also into the country itself, working with Red Cross organizations, especially with the German Red Cross, working with Israeli field hospitals that were sent there, and other organizations in order to provide assistance. Close to 50 team members of Magen David Adom were there in rotations. We still have 2 people there, but we will see if we will continue at the time being. It depends on the need, but also it depends on the approval that we receive to act over there. Because we cannot go and say, we are Israelis, we can do everything, and it doesn't work like this anymore. It used to be, by the way. It doesn't work like this. So we work with the Israeli Foreign Office and with the International Red Cross and with the Federation of the Red Cross and with local Red Cross organizations in order to assist. We provide international training in many other countries, and some of the systems that we have developed in Israel are implemented out of Israel. Some of them, they paid for it. It's not something that you just give away, but it is also part of sharing and selling technologies that we are developing in-house over the last years. A little bit in numbers. So we have about 3,000 employees. They are emergency medical technicians. They are phlebotomists and laboratories who work, and lab technicians who work in the laboratories and the blood services. We have medical trainers. We have paramedics. We have people who are working in logistics and in our command and control centers. The vast majority of our employees are highly trained emergency medical technicians or paramedics that over the years received additional assignments. Most of the management of the organization began as field operators, including myself.
Ambulance driver or more? Or paramedic?
EMT, ambulance driver, volunteers, etc., like myself. Okay, I began volunteering here a few years ago when I was 16. Okay, ended up stuck working here. But many of the people in the organization started as volunteers. So we have 33,000 employees, something like that, and around 30,000 volunteers. The young volunteers are 15. We take kids in high school, we train them, and then they join Magen David Adom as volunteers, and they are doing shifts in the ambulances. And we do constant ongoing training for them, and they have their own leadership, etc. And on, people who were out of the army are coming back to volunteer with us, and the most old volunteer is 93. He's not doing shifts, but he's assisting in our logistics. And the people on Magen David Adom are from the entire spectrum of the Israeli society. So you will hear here multiple languages. First, people who moved to Israel from out of Israel. So you will hear here a lot of Russian. And by the way, one of the 3 spoken languages in hospitals and in medical system in Israel is Russian. Still, even though they're getting older and older and beginning to retire.
Is
Arabic.
Official?
Yeah, not official,
Not
but
official.
that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Arabic and Hebrew, of course. Then English, French, Spanish, etc., and so forth. But there's all the time a mixture of people, and this gives us a strength that others don't. Because we reach out to people when they are in distress, where they are in trouble, where their adrenaline level is very high, they are very emotional, etc. And we need to understand the nuances in order not only to come and put the bandage and give oxygen and take blood pressure and medications and that's it. We need to understand the people, the behavior of their surrounding. And with the fact that we have so many people in the organization that are part of all different parts of the society, it's making our life very easy, very simple, relatively. And there are unique friendships that are being created over the years among people who are coming from different backgrounds. And this is the strength of the organization. The people, mostly volunteers, and the fact that they are coming from so many different parts of the society, where it is ultra-Orthodox Jews who live in ultra-Orthodox neighborhoods here in Jerusalem, or Arabs who live in East Jerusalem, or people who live in Judea and Samaria, or in kibbutzim or moshavim, or live in the city. All together. We have something like 1,300 ambulances and mobile intensive care units all over the country. We have 200 stations, but in addition to the stations, and this is a very big station, the station can be a small building with 1 or 2 teams that are working in a smaller community. Only in Jerusalem, in addition to this station, we have additional 7 stations. Because Jerusalem is the biggest, most populated city in Israel, I'm sure you know, but we also have a huge periphery of service, so we have many other stations all over the area, including in Judea and Samaria, like in Efrat and Ofra and Ma'ale Adumim and the Dead Sea area, etc. And all in all, the purpose is to be as close as possible to our potential patient. Because time in our work is very important. And reaching quickly to a person in medical emergency is extremely important. Because that might change the outcome. Whether he will live or not, whether he will live with disabilities or with minor disabilities or with not any disability. And this is our purpose. And this is the purpose of activating volunteers, because many of our volunteers and volunteers of other small organizations that are part of Magen David Adom, and they usually call themselves Hatzala Yerushalayim, and Hatzala Bnei Brak, and Hatzala Ashdod, and Hatzala Tzafon, and Hatzala Elachish, etc., and so forth, are part of Magen David Adom. We train them, we give them equipment, and using modern technologies that are all in their cell phone, we know where they are. And we not only that, we know where they are in relation to the patient. So we can call them and send them to the patient and ask them through the app, you have a patient in this street, this is the basic medical information, go. In addition to sending them, we also send ambulances and motorbikes and mobile intensive care units, and even in the Sea of Galilee, a speedboat, which is fantastic, yeah. And they fish and then they go and help people. I'm joking. And very other means, and also helicopters. All in all, to be as close as possible to our patients. Now, how does it work? In the side, and I'm talking now of the side of the, let's say, EMS, the emergency medical response. Okay? How do people reach us? You are in Israel now. You need an ambulance. You think you need an ambulance. How do you reach us?
An app? Do you have an app?
We have an app, but let's say you didn't download the app.
Cool.
What is the number?
911, 100.
Okay, 911, you will be answered by the police. And it's not the official number of the police.
112.
112,
100.
you will get a wrong number.
114.
114, you will get the wrong number.
I called 112 today by accident,
And
and they answered me, told me.
who? The police, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe the police. But in Israel, there are 3 emergency phone numbers. The police is 100. Magen David Adom is 101. The fire department 102. And I will elaborate a little bit what is behind the scene in terms of technology in order to combine the three systems, because each of them are on a different, belong to a different jurisdiction. The police and the fire department are governmental organizations. We are not governmental. We are public by law organization, meaning we are not funded by the government. The government is buying services from us. The government will tell us what to do. The government is also telling us how much money we are allowed to charge from the insurance of the patient or from the hospital for the blood that we are supplying, but we are not on the government budget, like the police or the fire department.
All the hospitals that are here in Israel works with you.
Yes.
It now depends if they have all of them have the red and says the name is Maguén David in Israel.
No, hospitals in Israel do not operate ambulances for the use of the public. Okay? They do have ambulances for their own transportation, but if they need transportation of a severe patient, they either call a private ambulance or they call us. It depends also how severe the patient is.
You work with the hospitals.
We work with the hospitals.
Okay.
We are in close relationship with all the hospitals. Our team members are being trained with the hospitals, and we are training the hospitals.
If someone has an emergency near here, you bring it here?
No.
If I call you?
No, we don't have a service
Okay.
of providing medical service in-house.
Okay. You bring the guys.
When I was young, we had a clinic at the entrance to the building. At the time where the public services are closed, in the evenings, at night, in the weekend, so people used to come here. There was an attending doctor that was working for the Ministry of Health, and they were checking and giving some prescriptions if there is a need, sewing small, etc. But we've stopped that many years ago because the system like this could not provide the level of services that the public was expecting. And that's why private clinics were open for the use of the public. Okay, one of them was opened here, stayed here for many years, and then they moved out because they grew bigger and bigger, and we didn't have the space for them. Okay, so our goal is when we get a call from somebody, is to get to them as quickly as possible. It can be a dramatic medical problem, or it can be a need to take a patient for further treatment in a hospital, and it's not urgent. Okay, it can be both. We receive about, now when COVID is relatively low, something like 8,000 calls all over the country every day. Something like that. Not all the calls are being translated to ambulance, because the people who sit at the call centers are trained to do over-the-phone triage. Many people call us for information, advice, and so on. So not all of it is translated to a medical response. But still, we need to have the team to answer them, because I can never know whether the next call is urgent or not. And for that, you set an app. We've developed a public application. It is called, בעברית, in Hebrew, Mada Sheli, or in English, My Mada. Okay? It looks like this. It comes in different languages. It can be in Hebrew, English, Arabic, French, Amharic, or Russian. And when you download it, we ask you several questions. Your private information. You can upload certain information about your existing medical condition. Like you have an allergy for this or that, or you take certain medications, you can upload medical documents and so on. And you can open additional files for other medical family members, for the family, with their information, phone number, etc., and so on. We did it because the culture in Israel is that when my parent doesn't feel well, usually he calls me. And then I'm calling for help. So, like this, I can send the information of my parent. If I'm calling from here, all I need, I don't need to remember that it's 101. I need to touch this red button. And that connects me to one of the dispatching centers, to one of the dispatchers, who sees the information. They will ask me in writing, are you calling for yourself, or somebody else from the list, or just a member of the public? And according to that, the information will appear. Not only that, we will get the exact location of the caller from the cell phone GPS. Okay? We can get photos or live video. We can chat in any language, text, in any mean of known texting. You can call us by, I don't know, Facebook is for old people, but you know, and so on. And in any language, with the help of Google Translate, you will get we will get it in Hebrew, you will get the answer in Spanish. Sometimes it's funny, you know, there are some mistakes, but still it is a different means of communication. We have uploaded guidelines, especially for the COVID, etc., but many other things, and they all appear here. And they're free. We know about your information only if you will call us. We can tell that another person downloaded the app, yes, but not more than that. So we maintain the privacy of the user. Now let's say you are traveling somewhere and something happens. You don't know exactly where you are. You are dialing 101. And you say, yes, I'm here in the street and I see a camel and he doesn't speak Spanish. I don't know where I am. And this person is whatever. We send you a text message. And we ask you, please approve. Once you approve, we see your location. And we maintain collaboration with you until the first team arrives. So, we know your phone number, we know your location, we know the description that you told us what happened, okay? So, we can tell how urgent it is. And then the system automatically is triaging, is finding the nearby responders through the Team app, which is a different application. All the ambulances have a satellite and cellular detector.